turn the code into other languages. And the only one I could get to work was this one, github.com/hunter with 2 R's and no E /PySpear. Credit to these guys. So basically what this one is it's made to look like a Shakespeare play. So let's make one. Let's call it Romeo.spl. So to start off, you gotta have the title. So let's make Romeo and Juliet 2. The squeakquel. And periods are essentially line breaks or semicolons. The first line is basically just a comment. It doesn't matter what you put there. So then you gotta declare your characters or variables, and they do have to be the names of actual Shakespeare characters. So let's go with Romeo. And this program is gonna print out hi with a new line at the end. So we're gonna use Romeo as the personification of the letter H. And the part after the names also doesn't actually do anything. It's just there for some flavor. Whoops. There. Then we got Juliet, who will be a young woman possessed by the ghost of the letter I. And then let's switch on over to King Lear, the man with a new line where his heart should be. So then you need acts and scenes, and you do need to use Roman numerals, but titles are also comments. So and scenes also act as labels for go-tos, but we won't be using any go-tos in this high program. So when you want to be able to use a variable, you do enter and exit. So you make the characters that you want to change the values of or use the values of, you put them on the scene together. And then you can have them use dialogue, and they talk to each other. So if you want to, for example, declare the value of Juliet, in this instance, you need to have Romeo be the one who's talking. And then the statement structure is a bit weird, but basically, if you want to declare the values, you say thou art or you are or something like that, as any adjective, as, and then you can use math words like sum and difference and product, but for constant values, there's a weird system where the nouns, if they're positive, they're worth 1, if they're negative, they're worth -1, and if they're neutral, they're also worth 1. So something like sweet is a value, or no, that's an adjective. So something like flower has a value of 1, and then you use adjectives to multiply that by 2. So if you want 2 to the power of, say, 7, you would need 7 adjectives and then a noun, and they'd all need to be neutral or positive. And so to get the letter H, I just have something already set up here. It's the difference between a warm, sweet, good, golden, noble, gentle, delicious thing, and a fine, bold, yellow, embroidered flower. And spelling does matter, actually, because the translator has a list of valid adjectives and nouns. So then Juliet is going to set Romeo's value partially based off of Juliet's own value. And I'm going to actually copy and paste here to make this go faster. So here he sets, or she sets Romeo's value to something, and then to change it once more, you can use the values of myself and thyself. And now at this point, Romeo's value is what it will be at the end. It's the value of the letter H. And to get Romeo to print that value, you say speak your mind. And if you wanted it to print the number, then you say open your heart. And now Romeo isn't needed anymore, so we can say exit Romeo. And enter King Lear. So then Juliet is going to set King Lear's values here. Or you can also use declaratives. So like you can say, you big, huge, large hamster. That's basically the same as saying thou art as blank as. And then King Lear. We're almost done here, I think. Says thou art the difference between thyself and myself. So that's saying Juliet equals Juliet minus King Lear. And then at this point, Juliet's value is the correct value, so speak your mind. And then Juliet has some more things to say about how hairy King Lear is. And then King Lear is at the right value. And then just for some flavor, at the end, King Lear's gonna refuse to speak his mind, even though he just did by outputting a new line. This last line doesn't do anything. I just wanted a finality to it as a play. So then the plural of exit, at least in Shakespeare terms, is exeunt. So if you want multiple characters to exit, you would say exeunt A and B. Or if you want every character to exit, you just say exeunt. And that also ends the program. So now, let's run it with Python 3 splp.py. We called this one Romeo. And the output is going to be romeo.py. Line 20 has an issue, apparently. Well, luckily, I prepared one earlier, so I'm just going to pretend that that worked. And that's the output. So yeah, let's get back to some more things here. White space. You think Python is bad with its mandatory white space rules. Here's an example of a Hello World program in white space. You better look at the documentation for that one. So here's what it looks like if you have syntax highlighting on, so you can see the tabs and spaces. Basically just, it's all tabs, spaces, and new lines. So like different orders of tabs and new lines and spaces do different things. You start with one of these, and then it like goes down to these, and this is what it ends up looking like. And anything that isn't white space is just a comment, so you can like hide it within other programs for other things. And yeah. Now let's go through a whole bunch of them, because there are a lot of esoteric programming languages, and a lot of them are fun. I put a link to all the documentations in this presentation. Bfunge. It's a two-dimensional programming language. Here's a hello world that's backwards, but it prints it forwards. Here's something that has multiple lines, so you can see the 2 dimensions more. I do not know how it works, but it does. Here's chicken. Chicken. Chicken, chicken, chicken. It's just the word chicken a bunch of times. Depending on the number of times it says chicken on a line, that's what it does. Here's folders. What if your file organization was the program? That's what it would look like. So basically you have the main folders, and then the main folder is like a single instruction, and then the subfolders are the parameters for the instruction, and it's wild. Malboj. Literally heck. What even is this? I don't know. Your intention is to not be able to know. It was made to be difficult to write in. So much so that for a while it wasn't even like a thing that people were trying to do. The reason I say literally heck is because it's named after the 8th circle in Dante's Inferno. And here's my favorite one. IRP, Cooperative Programming. And actually, let's go back to the documentation for this one, because I think it's very well written. As you can see here, you join the IRP channel but on IRC, and then you just write in plain English in polite command form what you intend for your program to do. So here's an example of a hello world. The first person says, please say hello world, and then the second person does. The Fibonacci sequence, you just say, hey, can someone write the first 16 numbers of the Fibonacci sequence? It goes on for a bit, and some of these are pretty funny, so I encourage you to read this. And for the rest of the time, and I forgot to pull up this page actually, for the rest of the time, the questions page will serve as an interpreter for IRP. There, now I have it pulled up. So yeah, if you want to write anything in IRP, you can just send it in as a question, and you'll get an output of sorts. However, note that they do have some documented errors here that may or may not happen, such as with the 99 bottles. That one has a bug where it usually doesn't work. I also have an example of a program that I ran in IRC or IRP. I'm not sure if it's still up there. I may or may not be able to find it. Oh, the results is me talking. And so someone in the questions just wrote hello world, and for that one I'm returning a syntax error because an important part of it is polite command form. So you would, for example, say, please say hello world. Here's an output. Blake, you're a goon. So the question is, have you implemented any esoteric programming languages yourself? And I'm working on writing one that takes a MIDI file as input. And I recently found out that there are actually multiple ones that currently do this, so I gotta find a way to stand out from those. Let's see. Where can I find those? Here's a new output. Birds are not real. There was a GitHub page that had a list of fairly good esoteric programming languages, and not just every one that anyone has ever submitted, like this page. There's a whole bunch. Here it is. Yeah, here's one of the ones that uses MIDI files as a source. And here's the other one. And here's an example of the cat program, where it just writes the input as the output. Yeah, I'll put the link to this in the Discord. And if nobody else has any more questions or IRP code that they want to run, then we can stop the meeting here and you can go get food or whatever. So yeah, looks like there aren't any more questions. Thanks for watching the meeting.